Okay, well, time for a little fun. This is our Cary Harrison Files, our podcast. As opposed to doing the normal broadcast radio thing, we like to play around a little bit. I'm just activating, there we go, Instagram right now so that we can be on that as well. So there's just so much to talk about, things that we really can't do on regular radio with FCC limitations and them just monitoring the shit out of everything. It's just appalling. This notion of free speech, it's free if what you say is what they like. If they don't, it'll cost you. So that's why we're just having a little fun with the podcast here. Let me bring on my chums. Let me bring on the great Rory Penland. Poof. There he is. And we're going to do a triple screen and bring on the amazing, the all-powerful, the hex among, not hex.
Not quite. No, I'm not a hex. No way.
Just a hex.
No. I'm just a hag, not a hex.
Magic powers.
Yes, I do have magic powers. Yes.
And let's jump a little bit on TikTok because this thing is said to go away. Now, there's the move to get rid of TikTok. Why suddenly is TikTok so damn dangerous? Well, people are on it. One, they're having fun. Unlike Facebook, unlike a lot of other places, TikTok is fun. But it turns out that the former Secretary of the Treasury, Mnuchin, remember that guy from the Bush administration? Vaguely.
Yeah, because it's the funnest name to pronounce, like 5 times fast. It's adorable. It's so
impossible.
Was he the Treasury guy for like Trump as well in the 2016 2020?
Yes, right.
Yeah.
And remember, he was like posing almost nude with his wife over dollar bills coming out of the printing press. I mean, it was so appalling and so obvious what was actually going on in that government at the time. Well, he wants to buy TikTok. And he wants to privatize it and make all the money off it and not have the Chinese who paid, whether you like the Chinese or not. They did all the R&D. They built this thing, marketed it. It worked. It caught fire. It's the top thing other than maybe Instagram. Facebook once upon a time, but that's because your grandmother is now trading recipes on it. So in her mind, Facebook is number one. But TikTok is killing it.
Actually, I thought the guy that runs it is Singaporean. He's from Singapore.
Okay.
He's not connected. As a matter of fact, they grilled him for days, I think. And they kept saying, so you're not connected to China in any way? He's like, no, I'm from Singapore. I'm Singaporean.
Yeah. Well, he is. Chinese cash is what built the thing. But either way, it doesn't matter. The Chinese are monitoring you when you pick up your phone. And so is the NSA. And so is everybody else. It's not like the Chinese only can go on the internet through TikTok. That's it. Other than a few hot air balloons floating for 3 days across the nation.
Did we ever solve the New Jersey drones? What is that? Did we ever get to the bottom of that, or they just stopped talking about it? But was that related to China? Was that related to the balloons?
Well,
it was China. I'm telling you.
I think it was China. I think it's always China. Yeah.
China.
I mean, those drones, if you look at them, they're made by us. Chinese drones, I don't know what a Chinese drone looks like. They could look like the thing from the War of the Worlds. I mean, why not? With 48 propellers on the top. But ours have a certain look. It looks like a giant phallus with some kind of sack hanging off it. And they can fire missiles. So,
So Jeff Bezos was involved in the design.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So TikTok, really, it's a freedom of speech issue, isn't it? It has to be. But here's the wrinkle. If it's private property, and Renee can speak to this, if it's private property, you really don't have the assumption of free speech. For instance, I stand on your lawn, Rory, which I've done many times, either burning crosses, doing a lot of inconvenient things.
Lawn.
Terribly embarrassing. But it's your private lawn. My freedom of speech no longer exists on your private property. I mean, I can try it, but you have a right to silence my ass because it's private property. Same thing as Facebook is owned by Mark Zuckerberg and 1,000 million other investors, but it's private property. So they can decide what you can say or not, just like YouTube. It's free, like you can jump on it, but you don't own it. It's not the phone company where you pay $10 or $900 a month or whatever, but you have the assumption of privacy on it, and you can say whatever you want because you're paying for that privilege. Well, you don't pay on these platforms like TikTok. So the government can have an argument that it's private property, somebody else's property, but that your free speech doesn't really exist, especially on Chinese property, that it's a uniquely American proposition that can only be honored on uniquely American property. And so long as TikTok is not American property, no free speech, it has to go away. Now, hand it over to Mnuchin and let him buy it up. It now becomes American property. Maybe it's still free. Maybe you can get away with whatever you're going to be able to get away with. So it's just business like everything else. It's hard for us to wrap our heads around that anyone would be that cynical, but they are blamed, you see.
Yeah.
Okay. That's it.
Rory has very powerful beliefs about this, and he was saying them off air, but now that he's on air.
Well, again, I'm a huge fan of TikTok. I do voices there, and I do videos, and I have about, I guess, 1,400 followers. And so I put a video up today going, hey, if this goes away, come find me on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. We don't have to be apart. I do the 1,001 voices in other places too. So, but yeah, I mean, I think it's just another example of, we're not in control of anything, that the rich people are going to control it no matter what, and they're going to get richer off of it. And that's it. It doesn't matter what makes us happy.
Yeah, I think we waived our right to happiness some time ago. I think it was during the Nixon era. People were still happy in their own way.
My people were happy.
Yes. Well,
and I had a dog, and he was happy. His name was Checkers.
For people that are maybe too young to remember or even know who Richard Nixon is, except as a historical footnote, the guy who preceded him by a little bit, Jimmy Carter, just died, 100 years old, made it right to the finish line. Put solar cells on the roof of the White House in the 1970s. Wrap your head around that. Solar cells on the roof of the White House. Then when King Ronald I came in. It
seemed like a good idea.
It was a great idea. And then King Ronald I came in, assumed the throne, and ripped those friggin' things off like in 2.5 seconds. And that was
We're not going to have that on the roof of our White House. It's just not going to happen. You gave away the Panama Canal, well, I'm giving away your solar panels.
You're right. And now it's time to get it back.
Yeah, I saw that. It's like, oh, God.
My train of thought just derailed all over the tracks. You could see locomotives here and cabooses over there.
There's a lot to talk about.
Oh, but I was just thinking about how bad, like crappy stuff rolls downhill. It's not grassroots going up. To your point, Rory, rich people are insulated. So you can only affect them if you can get to them. And you can only get to them if you stop buying their stuff. Now they're paying attention to you. So it's not the grassroots doing a D- and it somehow gets up to the top. It's the other way around. So you look at, this new government that we're about to inherit, which is going to be very exciting, where you take absolutely the wrong people in the world and put them in the exact wrong positions, like the head of All-Star TV Wrestling in charge of education. Perfect. What could go wrong? Can you count to 3? No. It's perfect. And then you've got Elon Musk, an illegal alien. Yes, he came over here as an illegal alien, had a visa,
As did the first
overstayed
lady.
by many months. Oh my God, an illegal alien. But let's not use that word hypocrisy because it's too hard to spell. So fuck that word. We're not going to say that word. Hypocrisy. Instead, we're going to know that he was an illegal alien. And much as they're talking about, he should self-purge, self-deport, which is what they're asking the illegal aliens, just self-deport. But he's a special case because he believes that smart people should be immigrants. So all colored immigrants, brown immigrants, hairy immigrants, aspidulous, hirsute immigrants should be put in camps. But white, pink, polished South African highly educated and occasional Asian immigrants on special visas should be allowed uniquely to work for him. He has 750 of these special immigrant visas just for his companies. Because if he's going to conquer outer space, is he going to hire? Question for you, Rory and Renee. How many MAGA people is he going to hire to do the math calculations to get him to outer space? Quick.
I'm guessing goose egg.
Well,
Okay.
none of them now because they're having an implosion and they're having a civil war because Vivek posted something on X about how American culture is lazy and that's why they need the H-1B visas. And then Elon retweeted it. And then MAGA freaked out because they don't want H-1Bs because they don't want any immigration. And so now there's an all-out war on X between the MAGA people who don't want any immigration and Elon and Vivek. So this is going great. You know, they haven't even, we're not even in January yet, and it's just self-imploding.
It's brilliant because the whole idea of getting elected based on all immigrants are bad, every one of them. They're rapists. I mean, really, what was said about these immigrants? They're rapists. They want to finger your little daughter, much like a president might, for instance. But that's an entirely different thing, different kind of fingering, right? They are, horrible creatures. They are godless. They're not Christian. They're vile, hideous, odious, terrible, deadly, disastrous people, while simultaneously you bring in a guy to start a brand new giant government for the Republican Party, the party of no government at all. We're going to have a giant new department that is devoted to doing nothing but dismantling the giant government. It's like giving birth to Homeland Security under Bush. While we're trying to shrink the government, we're going to bring in 500,000 employees in the TSA. We're going to have Homeland Security. It's going to be bigger than anything, bigger and better than we ever imagined. So you have a guy that's elected president based on all immigrants are bad. The guy under him who's in charge of the government is in charge of bringing in immigrants for his own personal business, because not one of those MAGA people that voted, not one, is worthy of even swabbing the floor, cleaning the toilets. Not one is. They're lazy, they're fat, they're stupid, they're missing teeth, blah, blah, blah. Not one of those MAGA people is appreciated enough to even work in the cafeteria. So instead, he's going to bring in immigrants to do the real jobs. So I can see why the MAGA people suddenly feel hoodwinked. Like, but wait a minute, your whole platform was built on how bad immigrants are. And now suddenly there's this thing called visas. They'd never heard of it before. H1N1. Wasn't that the flu, the bird flu? No, that's a special visa for Chinamen. Like, what is this? Can you imagine a MAGA person, not all, but most, trying to wrap their head around this? And if there are any, please type in your comments and explain, Lucy, what does this mean and why is it good, or is it good? Because to me, I would be so offended that if I voted for Mildred McCutcheon to bring support hose to all women across America, and meanwhile, she was burning them secretly in a big pyre in the backyard, and I put her in charge of the pantyhose brigade, I'd be insulted.
Lucy, did you vote for that MAGA man? Wah!
So as the government decides to be the most incompetent of all, it's competent in this way, though. You put in incompetent people on purpose so that you can destroy each part of the government and then privatize it. Right? So you destroy the Department of Education and then you privatize it. And you say, if you want an education, it's going to cost you this much, but you got to pay for it. If you don't pay, no more free high school, no more free anything school.
Yeah,
So
we
that's
did that
the
with
plan.
the Postal Service.
Yeah, privatize that too. So you have to bring in, much as Trump did, and this is not anti-Trump. The guy's brilliant. Let's just say it. He's brilliant. Let's say it again. He's brilliant.
His advisors were brilliant.
He is brilliant. He knows how to work a crowd. Imagine getting fundamentalist Christians on board without once mentioning Jesus. How do you do that? How do you get evangelicals by the tens of millions to vote for you after you've like raped people and you're being sued for all of this and cooking books and being a crook on every 1,000 levels, that they're being taught in Bible study under no circumstances can you behave like this for even 1 minute, and you pull them all over without once mentioning Jesus. Wow, that's brilliant. And then white men, pulling all the white men away from the Democratic Party, where they're supposed to sit, and convince them they're all blue collar workers and that they belong with you and you're going to make them rich and they can come and play golf for free at Mar-a-Lago. Then you get all the Asians who are immigrants and you get them to come for you because you're going to get rid of all the immigrants, but you convince them they are not immigrants. And then you get all the Latinos, millions of them, immigrants, and you get them to vote for you because you convince them they're not immigrants. Meanwhile, we're going to go after the immigrants. This is brilliant. I mean, this is like Machiavelli level brilliance. Don't you think?
It's insane. And it's insane that it worked.
Let's see. Realtor Martha Robinson says, actually how we in Key West know what's going on, as our one human family is on Facebook, our Coconut Telegraph. Thank you, Martha Robinson. You are correct. And I know you because we went on a tour in Cuba together, I think some years ago that you were on. That's right. One human family. That's an idea, but it doesn't work in this particular set of politics because you have to be able to own everything in order to achieve what you did. Let's take a look at the Germans in World War II. And I brought them up before. Yes, there's Godwin's law. Don't ever bring up the Germans, for God's sake. They're fine people now. They didn't mean it. They didn't know. Who knew? How do you live in a town named Dachau and not know? Seriously, it's a city. It's not the name of a camp. It's a friggin' city called Dachau, right outside of Munich. You live there, there's a chimney poking up in the air, and you go, must be the trash service. Had no idea. All these people in the street, thousands of them marching with suitcases. Yeah. Who knows?
Yeah, they don't have a dictator now. I mean, us on day one, baby.
Think about it. Germany, I think you said it earlier, ironically, does not have a dictator.
I said it before the show. Yeah.
Yeah. Just absolutely insane. And what the Germans did, and their great trick is they did what we're about to see, which is steal absolutely everything that isn't nailed down, just hijack everything. And while they were doing that, oil paintings, pianos, grand pianos, and people's whole houses. The problem was people were getting upset. They didn't like that. When they didn't like that, they said stuff to their neighbors, which got their neighbors inflamed. So those people all had to go away. Problem solved. So go in, take everything that isn't nailed down, make everyone go away, and you end up having everything. And it works. And so we're kind of looking at the same thing. But Renee, I want to hear your voice on this because you have such analytical prowess, and we need a squirt of estrogen in these arguments. Otherwise, it's just more patriarchy destroying the world. And
I'm not a squirter, but I will say,
can you squirt for us? We need you to squirt.
No, no, I can't. I did want to.
I've seen videos of that, by the way.
Yes, he has. Only he has. But
yes, only I have.
We do have to bring up the fact that Dana Ricker is here, and he's a Canadian. And I wonder if Dana can speak to what Canadians feel, because of course Trump has taken it into his custody that what he wants to do is harass Canadians all day long. Have you guys heard about this?
Well,
he says
he
wants Canada to be our 52nd state. He wants Greenland to be part
and
of
Greenland.
And he's already talking about taking over the rest of the world.
Well, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, and let's bring in Dana here, because if he's Canadian, he could speak to the fact of being annexed. Right. Is this something that you sort of secretly pine for, Dana, that you're like, oh yeah, I'll just be at work, I'll find out that Canada was annexed and everything will be great. Sure, my healthcare will be gone in 1.5 minutes. And then I'll get to like have retail healthcare like they have in the States. So if I break a leg, it'll be 50, 60 grand. Oh, there's my whole annual paycheck. Jesus, this sounds great. What have we been waiting for? Is Dana on there where we bring him on, or is he?
No, he's in the audience, or he was. He could have disconnected, but he was here. We'll see if he says anything. So, but yeah, this thing about Greenland and expanding our borders. Yeah,
let's flip the script for a second. You're both Americans. So am I, by the way. Let's point that out. 3, 1, 2, 3 Americans. Okay. Somebody threatens another country. And a country with power and like weapons and tanks and a military footprint that circumnavigates the entire planet. The Roman Empire didn't have shit compared to what our country has. We've got about 900 military bases dotted all over the planet. We've got 150 nukes in Israel. I mean, we have it all. So let's take a country with that kind of power. Let's call it China. And let's say that whether it's Ping, we'll call him Mr. Ping. I kind of like that. Mr. Ping or Mr. P. Let's say he threatened simply to annex North America into China. And he said it with a straight face, maybe more than 100 times. How would we react? Would we go,
You have to call him President Xi. Xi is the family name. It's the first name.
Well, we can call him that, but I like Mr. P.
I like Xi because I can always say, well, everything was fine till Xi came along.
Okay, that's great. That is pretty great.
Okay.
I
So
like
here's Keith. It's just Trump's MO to get everyone in a dither. This time worldwide, keeps everyone off balance and separated, so no significant opposing battlefront can impose any resistance. Yeah. Intimidate the hell out of everyone, and then it's like the Democratic Party right now. Can you describe in 5 easy sentences what is the Democratic Party right now? I mean, I'm getting emails from Kamala asking for $5. Kamala.
Still.
Asking for $5. What? Yeah. Marianne Williamson is running to be the head of the DNC. I mean, she could actually be really good at that. She could bring in some woo-woo, I don't know, something, and reboot that thing. But it is a deflated phallus. It looks like Florida, with Key West as the dribbles. It needs a new life force. What are we talking about? I have no idea.
I don't know, but now I just can't get Florida out of my brain right now. I just can't get Florida, and then the mushroom thing with Trump, and then Mar-a-Lago. It's all connecting for me, and I can't focus.
Yes, he's bullying other leaders around the world. He's threatening tariffs, blah, 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 blah. And at first they were like, we're not going to go for that. But now they're all kissing the ring. They're all bending the knee. It's like, geez. There you go.
I like that. That's, you know what that is? You know what that is, Rory, right?
Eggplant.
That icon, that eggplant, you know what that means?
It's a penis.
Yes. So for all of you straight folks out there, that's what that means.
It's a big purple penis.
It doesn't mean root vegetable or starch as much as we all wish. So my point is that if another country that were of sufficient size and force threatened to annex us, we would be perched for war. Literally. It'd be on TV, on CNN, Meet the Press. Oh my God, there'd be press conferences. There'd be this, there'd be that. And the Canadians are relatively convinced it's not going to happen. But Justin Trudeau has been on TV a fair amount, sort of calming Canadians that it's really not going to happen. And here's one of the reasons why. Canada is a NATO member. And remember, an attack on one NATO country is an attack on all of NATO, which is why Ukraine right now is not part of NATO. One of the reasons why, because we wouldn't be able to, with Russia attacking Ukraine, that would mean all of Europe, Australia, Canada, the United States would be in a real war with Russia and can't have it. So if we were to go and annex a NATO country, we would be invading it, not only in violation of the Nuremberg codes, because they didn't do anything. We just went in, push, and took them. But two, we would be attacking a NATO partner and thereby attacking ourselves and all of NATO, which would be required to respond. So while it's a bunch of blah, 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 the public doesn't know that because they're not explained any of this stuff. So
that's why Trump wants to abolish NATO. He wants to help Putin out by, disbanding NATO, getting everybody to go, hey, this is not worth it. We're going to drop out.
He'd like to, but I'll tell you why it won't work. Not for reasons that any of us think. So let's take BlackRock, for instance. BlackRock is a military contractor with stock in virtually everything on Wall Street. And they buy up massive amounts of real estate, stock real estate. They have their tentacles in virtually every single sector of NATO, from uniforms to buttons on, to sashes, to hats, to cooking pans, utensils, shower curtains all over the world. And every single thing that a NATO ally purchases has to be at NATO standards. And guess who sets the standards? Not Portugal. Yes, the United States. Yes, BlackRock. That means they are so interwoven through all of Earth that there's no way to disband NATO because they all have real contracts, international, real legal contracts, and they're making billions and billions and billions and billions. So all this blah, blah, blah isn't going to do anything, but it does work for the people who don't know, the MAGA people. They get excited because they're thinking of hairy Spaniards, hairy women Spaniards, and it's freaking them out because they're potential immigrants. And all of this, it just excites the base. But really, can you affect that much change in a government that's almost too big to fail? I mean, this juggernaut of a government we have is so massive, yet it can be held hostage, much as we saw the great Elon Musk hold it hostage, a few weeks ago with the government shutdown. Remember this? We came right to the last minute. What was that really all about? Was that the guy in the ministry of whatever this new department is, of government sloppy, crappy, let's shut it down, let's close it down? No, it had nothing to do with that. And by the way, he is not working for the government. He's a private citizen with contracts with our federal government. Basically, he owns NASA. And what he did is he went in front of Congress. Congress writes the checks. Congress authorizes the government whether it will stay open or closed. And that includes FAA and all the madness. That's what first things that happen when you shut down the government. The first things that go are the things you actually need, not the things you don't need. And so they were working on a law that was part of this shutdown that would have impeded Elon Musk from building 2 factories in China next to the world's largest Tesla factory, which happens to be in Shanghai. Happens to be. And he wants to build 2 giant factories right next door. And Congress is working on a law that would have stopped any American company from building more factories, sort of on enemy soil without a lot of regulation. He was able to manifest the government shutdown, get Trump pretty much behind it. And guess what Congress did? They pulled these 2 laws out, wiped them away. And now Elon Musk is going to build 2 giant factories so huge, you'll be able to see them on satellite. And of course, the government didn't shut down. But up till the last second, he was motivating them to all maybe lose their jobs. So it always boils back down to the Nixon administration level of follow the money. Who's making what and what deals are getting cut, and has nothing to do with how much hair is on your legs or your armpits. I mean, have you shaved your armpits recently, Lori?
No.
Do you feel like it?
I like to be like Madonna and feel free.
Yeah, I know. I do too. Put a gas pump nozzle up your cooch.
I don't know if I've gone that far, but
She may have stopped at this age.
she's got a kid now. You know, she's full grown actually now.
And it won't stay in. The nozzle keeps falling out. It's a terrible thing. So when you've got a government that is as clodhoppery as this appears to be, it rolls downhill. Renee and I in radio, weekly over-the-air radio, which it's shocking that it even still exists, frankly. I mean, 82% of adults still listen. We all do. But without saying names, the people that work in it are the lowest functioning humans I have ever seen on earth. You trimmed. Keith Moulter trimmed. Good. Thank you, Keith. The lowest functioning people I've ever seen. Renee, am I making this up or am I being serious?
Yeah, so we talked about the Peter principle, principle the other day. Cary, I don't know if you want to introduce, I don't know how many people.
Peter principle?
Okay. Do you want to, Cary, talk about that? And there's another principle I'll mention after you mention that one.
So the Peter principle is where the biggest idiots get promoted first, basically, that somehow they get promoted up, that it's not the people with talent that work hard. It's the ultimate morons somehow get blown up to the top. Maybe they blew someone. I don't know what it is, but they end up getting all the rewards. And it's called the Peter principle. And we work in a place, work is maybe a generous word.
Yeah, let's be
We indentured servants in a certain place where the engineer could not run the audio board. Now, this technology has been around since the 1920s. You get a fader bar, you push it up, you pull it down. Red button blinks. You could push it on, you could push it on. Push the fader bar up, pull it down. Basic stuff. Could not do it.
Shiny red
Because the
button.
phones come through that system. So which one is the phones? Oh, the phones, they're lighting up. What do I do? Oh my God. Seriously. So he has now been promoted to some astronomically high position.
Right, of course.
And brought in his replacement, who Renee and I had a conversation with for the first time ever. And Renee thought it was a fake call.
I still do. I think we were punked. I think Ashton Kutcher is in the van across the street laughing his butt off. That's what I really believe that.
I'm gonna be working the board for you.
That's not even that's literally that's not even
If it were
shocking.
like
It was
that,
close,
It's
huh?
like
you could, if it were like that, you could have compassion. You could say, okay, but the guy talks like this.
I-
He is a character. And holy cow.
I didn't know you could do impressions, but I'm telling you, Rory, you got to understand this is
He's
so
right on the money, isn't he?
this
He's
is
dead
so
on the
right on
money.
the money that I'm thinking that you punked me and that you were doing ventriloquism.
I could have been doing a Phil Hendry.
Actually, he used to
I
do a
think-
great Cliff Clavin back in the day. I remember that.
Well, the other principles,
That's actually a fact. Yeah.
there's the Peter principle and then the Dunning-Kruger effect. The Dunning-Kruger effect is, of course, the more confident that people who tend to be really confident also tend to be really stupid and incapable and inept. So like confident, whereas people who are brilliant tend to second guess themselves and have imposter syndrome and all of that. So there's also that element.
Well,
But of course,
yeah.
you're lucky to be working with me.
You know, I think the smarter you are, the clearer you are that you don't know diddly. Because the smarter you are, the more stuff you start to observe that you've never seen before or you never bothered to pay attention to. And now you're overwhelmed with so much data and so much possibility in countries you've never visited and books you've never read, and you realize that you don't know anything. But if you are blissfully ignorant, you think you know it all because you watched Fox or News Nation or Newsmax or whatever, and they told you what you need to know. And they said, there is nothing more to know. There is no other news on the planet. This is it. In 43 seconds, you learned everything you need to know. Buy gold. Here comes a commercial. Speaking of which, Renee, we have a beautiful piece of audio. This was put together, I want to say 15 years ago. Do you remember, Rory, you remember Clear Channel?
Yeah.
Clear Channel, now known as iHeart Media or iHeart Media, yeah, was the largest radio company on earth. And they're the ones that gave birth to Rush Limbaugh, to Dr. Laura, to Glenn Beck, who they used to pull out of titty bars, you know, to get on the air in time, maybe usually 1 minute before air, and all these other characters. And this is who they are. And they were notorious for firing people. And they're the originators of having 1,600 radio stations and basically firing everybody and getting one disc jockey. Let's say he's in North Carolina. They will record him doing a music show. And then they will take one afternoon. They won't pay him extra. They'll tell him it's part of his job. And they'll have him record every set of call letters for all the different stations in the country where they now syndicate his show. Now, being syndicated used to be cool. It meant you were on a bunch of different stations and you were carried on all of them. But here's the cheat. You fire 60,000 people, you take one guy, you have him record call letters, the computer drops them in. So he's doing his show, and then in his voice, it'll say, you're listening to WCBS, New York. And in fact, he's in North Carolina, and every single other station has his voice giving the call letters. So now you have one employee doing the job of dozens and dozens of people. You fired your local news guy, you fired the weather people, which is now done out of Alabama on computer. The traffic in LA, the most trafficked city in America with no public transportation, is done in another state. This is iHeartMedia. In another state, somebody looking at a computer screen, like at Google Traffic, and doing a live traffic report. Well, the 405 is backed up 3 miles, so you're going to need to find a different route. Different route, like what? A different route. When you used to have, remember in the helicopters, traffic people, they would say, take the 405, cut over to the 310, take the 60. And now it's just take a different route. So all that to say, Clear Channel destroyed media. They are one of the biggest forces that took away the democracy that you and I depended on. which was live and local, real people accountability, because they were real people. So if they screwed up on the news, they had to own it. And their job stood in the balance. So they had to try to do the best they could. Now you have somebody on tape. And I remember when, and we're going to play this piece of audio in a second. I remember when we first discovered this, when Michael Jackson died. When Michael Jackson died, it took 3 days for Clear Channel to be able to put it on the news. Why? Because they pre-recorded all the news. They had one guy, put him on all the stations. He would pre-record it 3 days in advance. Not a problem. So 3 days later, you hear about Michael Jackson. Meanwhile, CNN has been in trees, digging up his body, exhuming it, showing pictures of his penis, the usual, the spots on it. You remember this, remember? Yes, no?
I don't remember them showing his penis, but yeah.
Well, you remember Michael Jackson's famous speech about his buttocks, that they looked at his buttocks? We're going to have to play that. Oh, I have to bring you up to speed on
that. Looking there. Stop looking at that.
So this is called Christmas at Clear Channel because it became a thing every year around Christmas time. They would fire everybody. Everybody. And then they would hire back a handful of independent contractors for whom they had to pay no health insurance. They owed nothing. They worked under 40 hours a week. They were all part-timers, and they didn't have a ton of talent. So this was a beautiful piece put together by people that worked at Clear Channel who had just been fired, called Christmas at Clear Channel.
Revised Scholastic Films presents the truth behind Christmas at Clear Channel. Yes, it's Christmas time at Clear Channel Broadcasting Incorporated, and it's the happiest time of year, where employees celebrate giving and the spirit of Christmas, while Clear Channel celebrates wonderful year-end returns and fat executive bonuses. However, some people crazily believe that large corporations don't care about their employees. With Clear Channel, this couldn't be more untrue. Look here, it seems that Clear Channel has organized a corporate Secret Santa program, where each employee gets a gift from a secret corporate philanthropic specialist. Jimmy received a pink slip of paper, no doubt containing an uplifting holiday message from the company. Look at Jimmy jump up and down, screaming at the top of his lungs, probably trying to thank Clear Channel for their holiday generosity. There are always holiday festivities going on at any of the 1.75 billion Clear Channel radio stations at Christmas time. Wow, look at the happy employees cleaning out their offices, probably to make room for the tree, and the upcoming Christmas feast that Clear Channel has undoubtedly organized. Does Clear Channel Broadcasting care about the Christmas spirit? You're right they do. Look at this formerly high-paid executive. He used to be cooped up in a dingy office every day. But now, thanks to Clear Channel, he's working as a corner Santa Claus. Wait a minute, you're supposed to wave with all of your fingers extended, Santa. And here you see another employee being escorted out of the building by security, probably so he can experience the crisp, cool weather, which will make him even more into the Christmas spirit. Apparently, this employee had asked to have Christmas Day off, so Clear Channel responded by giving him several years of vacation time. What a generous company of friends. And of course, since Clear Channel is a large corporation that makes hundreds of millions of dollars per year, they are incredibly charitable. Here they are hiring a homeless person with no broadcasting experience whatsoever to be one of their highest profile hosts. Some would say they would hire anyone or do anything just to save a buck. But this homeless junkie, soon to be talk show host, doesn't think so. Say hello to the camera, Glenn. And that's the generous truth behind a Clear Channel Christmas.
See, the employees strike back.
They fired you, didn't they, Cary?
Yeah, they did.
I'm sorry. It just seems so obvious.
Well, actually, yes, and it was for the for having double the ratings of the competing station that they owned.
Oh, geez.
We killed the conservative station next door. And that put the bonus that the program director would have received for having the highest rated slot. She wasn't going to get her bonus. So we had to go away.
Jeez.
Money. Yeah. So if you perform well, they will kill you. And Jonathan Swift, the great satirist who gave us Gulliver's Travels and wrote essays on man, said wherever there is a true genius among us, the dunces will be in confederacy against him. And I'm not saying, and in no damn way a genius, but reasonably competent at times. And so you get punished.
You're talented.
When I was at CBS in Chicago, we did some really great stuff. And the reason that got terminated was because I cost more than the rent in the building. And they were on the 83rd floor of the NBC Tower in Chicago. I had negotiated a very good contract, let's admit it, with 18% going to a 401k. But more than the rent. So it's always financial. It's just always financial.
But Clear Channel will fix that.
But Clear Channel will fix that. Look, it's young Jimmy. Yeah. So really kind of the point is that mediocrity and the worst of the worst is actually rewarded and celebrated. And that the guy who's going to be our next president, who is brilliant. I mean, I'm going to say it. He is a genius, a real genius in a different kind of way. But he has found a way to make the D- an A+, and everyone believes it. Right? I mean, we know that Elon Musk is quite brilliant and accomplished and has done extraordinary things with Space Force and all the rest of it. But he is not a guy to run a nonprofit, also known as a government. I mean, a government is not a for-profit experience. It's there to clean your toilets,
it wasn't.
pave your roads, put light bulbs in your street lamps, make sure that the school doesn't have a leaking roof, and that there's some kind of content in the classrooms. It's not a for-profit operation. It's your cleaning lady. You hire it to do the stuff. You don't hire your cleaning lady to make a profit off of you. And when she does, there's a problem, right? Doesn't mean you can't give her a bonus, but she's not there to make a profit off of you. She's there to clean. That's the government's job, to clean, not to clean the government. So, yeah, I don't know where.
It is what it is.
Well, it is what it is.
Again, that's what I've been saying for the last month and a half, 2 months.
So maybe what we have to do is accept it.
Yeah.
Accept it. So I'm going to put together a series of webinars that one is how not to commit suicide for real. Resiliency, coping skills, not everyone is an activist. That's the thing, is you want to tell people, well, just write your congressman, just call your senator, just, call the just do something. And it's reasonable for most people to say, like what? This isn't Europe where you just pour out into the town square with 1 million of your neighbors. And that scares the hell out of whoever's in the government, and they come up to the balcony and they're in trouble. We don't have a square. What are you going to pour out into? A parking lot at Walmart? You'll just be arrested. Problem solved. You're not even on TV. So since most people can't really be activists and they don't know how to activate or what to do, what they can do is survive this. And so if you can show them how to just deal with it, tolerate it, and not completely fall apart during it, and even navigate the BS that's going to come their way, then maybe you've done them a solid.
How to be friends with MAGA.
Yeah. Like, I started writing a MAGA history of the United States,
Oh, jeez.
which Renee is going to proofread because she's a Rhodes Scholar.
Oh yes,
And
I'm excited because this is the thing. This is the book that needs to be written, and this is the year to do it, and you're the person to write it. So, and then we're gonna hawk it. We're gonna sell it,
Yeah.
and it's gonna be amazing.
It's going to be amazing. I think we can have sneakers, belt buckles, dildi, if that is the plural, all kinds of accoutrement that people need and will use. I think there's a whole BDSM opportunity too under this administration. Look at Rory's expression. You look like Bill Clinton when you do that.
He does. I was gonna say that. It's uncanny.
Well, I just want to say, I'm dealing with it as best as I can.
Well, floating in space on Instagram says, okay, I'll buy. Thank you, floating. We will make sure that the merchandise is available to you, and just let us know what is it should we create and brand and put out there that people actually want. So I don't know anymore. I mean, it's got to be beyond baseball caps. I imagine there are like nipple rings, generators, or is it all like Patriot stuff, survival supplies, power bars that last 30 years, or power bottoms that can last 30 years.
Is the Fox News host guy still going to be the head of the Pentagon?
No, unfortunately, he didn't pass muster.
Well, good. I've been unplugged for a while, not wanting to cry every day when I wake up and read the news.
I mean, think about the casting. This is where Donald Trump is a genius. He's casting. So let's see, Fox and Friends weekend guy in charge of the Pacific Fleet, nuclear weapons, 900 military bases, all kinds of black ops operations, and central command.
Guy
Fox,
can't even throw a hatchet. He's drunk all the time.
and he's drunk. It's like perfect. Who better? It's Vlad the Impaler.
Drive the military. I've just had a few. Come on.
Well, I think we have done the Lord's work here. Renee, do you have anything you want to kick in?
I just want to say, if you want to read Keith's comment before we go.
Sure. Acceptance gives the gift of seeing what you are dealing with, so you can find your way through, navigate through, choose your battles carefully. Well, absolutely. Absolutely. I think we have to accept that this is the reality, but I don't think we have to accept it as being normal, nor do we have to accept it and therefore like it. It's kind of like, should the Jews have accepted and liked Adolf Hitler? No. Should you accept and like slaughtering millions of people somewhere in the Middle East that may or may not be happening today? So you have to accept that it's happening, like acknowledge that it's really happening. You can't be an ostrich and put your head in the sand. But is it also considered moral to resist things that are immoral? And this is where jury nullification comes into play. If a jury feels that a law is unjust or the spirit of the law is not being followed properly, they can just blow a whole case right out of court and just say it goes away, dismiss it, as would a judge. Likewise, military people who swear an oath to the Constitution, not to the president, to the Constitution. I'm going to say that again. They swear an oath to the Constitution. If they feel they're being asked to do something unconstitutional, illegal, or unjust, they don't have to do it, even if they're ordered to. So even though you and I haven't taken that oath, is it a moral imperative for us to resist against something we think is unjust or immoral? That's something for another time, I think. And Keith says exactly, see it as it is, including the non-normalcy. Exactly. See it as it is. Call it what it is. Call a spade, a shovel, a pixie straw.
Mhm.
Lacy bikini bottoms, exactly what they are, on or off. Tassels. You just can't get Rory to react.
The whole thing is me watching Rory, because we should have a show called Rory React, and we just have to try to crack. Like, how does he keep a straight face during that? I have no idea, but it's brilliant.
It's good. You know who he looks like now? Hold that spot. You look like he was in Ozark. He's a terrific actor.
Ozark.
On Netflix. Shit. And he's just on a Netflix movie right now that just came out. Oh, damn. I'll think of it.
After the show's over. I
Yes.
hate when that happens.
And I'll send you an email because it'll take longer.
Where's my other phone? Look goes up Ozark. See who's playing in there.
Bateman. Thank you. Floating in Space on Instagram. Jason Bateman.
Jason Bateman?
Jason Bateman. You held a facial expression. There it is.
You did, Rory. You did.
That's Jason Bateman?
Yes.
I'm a little upset. That's probably going to be the like the moment of the show. And then Rory did the Jason Bateman face.
Well, now you know you can. You can just
I can't do
randomly
it,
do it, and people will say, "What's wrong?" And you'll say, "I'm doing the Jason Bateman face."
Well, that comment deserves the Jason Bateman face.
Well, this has been fun. I know it's getting late. We're East Coast time here on this side of the woods, and we're coming up to 1 hour. But this is always fun. I know we start late, so we're a little bit worn out. We would have like a lot of energy if this were like 3 hours earlier, but it is what it is.
Or if we were 10 years younger. That should have been either way, right?
We were doing an unboxing.
Well, I will see you guys next time. And Renee, you and I have a phone call with the guy that talks like this.
I wouldn't want to spend my New Year's any other way. I'll be honest with you. Because I can tell that story till I'm 87. It's fantastic.
I'll be New Year.
Because you have to make a decision in life. Like, you have to make a decision. Do you want your life to be, boring, or do you want to have adventures? And this is an adventure.
It's an adventure. And since most people have no idea what we're talking about, is that this person who's new in this field holds so much power over the final product. It's kind of like he controls the factory, he controls the machinery in it, how much gas is in the machine, or if the machine runs out of gas, because it never occurred to him that the friggin' machine needs gas to run, and everything else. And he holds all the power, and we do remote training trying to teach him his job long distance through the phone because he has no idea.
And we're not even there, and we're not even trained in that thing, but we have to, you use deductive reasoning and you sort of just figure it out. But it's crazy because we have to, it's like trying, we're the IT support. Remember back like in the day with Dell, and you would call and then someone overseas would try to talk you through the manual and say, oh, click this button or whatever. Like, we have to do that now. It's crazy. And we're not even trained to do that.
And we know that everybody watching, listening, whatever you're doing, or hearing this later as a podcast, you relate, because it's the same thing where you work. You're like, how in God's name did this person get 3 positions above me?
Right.
And they're ruthless in holding on to that position because they have no idea what's going on, but they just want to save their ass.
Mm-hmm. Everyone can relate to that, and that's why it's one of the reasons why we can't have nice things. One of the many reasons.
Well, on that happy note, let me just wish you guys a very happy new year.
Back at you.
What are you going to do? Just quickly.
I know what I'm doing. I've got a date. I've got a date with you know who, with you, Cary, and with
With him.
We have a threesome planned for New Year's.
It's Troyalism. It's a three-way.
So I know exactly what I'm doing on the New Year's.
Should I talk like this?
If you do, I will never stop laughing, and I'll probably medically die. So no.
I mean, I do have his voice on a voicemail. Just it's so short.
Oh my gosh, I can't. Oh my god.
No.
Let's see. It's so short, but
oh gosh.
Cary, hey, this is Wendell calling. Whenever you can, give me a call. Okay, see you later.
Okay.
We're gonna have to delete all of this. Oh shit.
He said his name. Ouch.
Kendall.
Kendall, yes.
Kendall, yeah.
Yes, Kendall.
Kendall Jenner is now working with us. We are working with Kendall Jenner.
That's right. Yes.
Well, I had no idea they sounded like
Yeah,
that.
it is. It's like having the Kardashians in charge of NASA.
Which is what Trump is doing. Like I said, I'm just waiting for Roseanne Barr to take over something.
Oh, she needs to be. Yeah, no, Roseanne Barr needs to be Secretary of State.
That's what I really think, though. I feel
I could do a good job with that. I really do. I think I'd be a really good state person.
I just don't see why not at this point.
Loyalists. Gotta have loyalists.
Well, we'll find out. Well, it's late, you guys. As much as I love you, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, and our New Year, Cary, will be the happiest of all.
I'll see you tomorrow, honey. You'll have a little story to tell.
Good night, everybody.
All right.
Good night,
bye, you guys.
Gracie.